Hello and welcome everyone again to another video, and in today's video we have a new season about to start, and the new season is Share the Skies, as Niantic just named it, June 1st until September 3rd, 2024. Like there is some nerfs. It's not just some, it's just like two Pokemons, but those two Pokemons that were nerfed were literally the core of the meta. Now, what's going to happen after the new nerf? Well, we're about to see. My name is Yasser Ali, I'm a Twitch streamer. I stream on Twitch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we do YouTube videos, so if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for the best content about the top teams and that will help you to climb. And as always, I divide the meta into three different categories: main, good leads, safe swaps, and closers. But if we take a glimpse at PvPoke, Registeel is number one. I think Registeel is not as good as PvPoke may think. Not PvPoke the person, but the website. For one reason, the meta is just extremely fast, and Registeel is just too slow for the meta. Cresselia is there, so those two Pokemons are great in competitive games, but they aren't as good in GBL. But with one exception, that Cresselia is everywhere good. Okay, it's just too tanky, and it has good coverage for the entire meta. If Psychic is bad, you just run Moonblast to Grass. Not if Grass is bad, you just run Future Sight Moonblast. Followed by Annihilape, and I think by far Annihilape is literally the best Pokemon in the current meta, which is going to make Gligar everywhere, because Gligar is the only Pokemon that can single-handedly always beat Annihilape. That's literally Gligar's main job: destroy the Annihilape. Followed by Carbink, Mandibuzz, Skarmory, which I think is the second best Pokemon. So on my list, I think the meta will be Annihilape, Skarmory, and Charjabug and Lickitungs. Why Lickitung? Lickitung is the best safe swap, used to be, still the best safe swap, and it performed much better in the lower MMR than the higher MMR, because at high MMR people know how to handle Licky usually with their playstyle. More not like, it's not about the team, it's about the playstyle. And in my category here, as you can see, the good leads. Good leads are generally Pokemons that have fast move pressure, and they do have a baiting move, with the exception that Skarmory doesn't have a fast move, a baiting move, but it just does so much fast move pressure to the point where they will be forced to shield your bad move Sky Attack. Mantine, the problem with Mantine is just doesn't have, it doesn't do output enough damage. So maybe if they ever give us Shadow Mantine, that will be sick. Okay, if they ever give us a Water Pulse buff, which I talked about in a previous video with Lyle Jeff, where they make it like a clone to Dig, that would make Lantern able to flip the Skarmory matchup. But here, as I said, I think Annihilape is just the most dominant lead, followed by Gligar. Those two Pokemons just cover everything. But his Skarmory is just insanely good. If you don't have your Skarmory, if you want to handle those two, the only Pokemon that I was thinking of that doesn't do bad against the meta is literally Charjabug, because Charjabug beats both, and it's kind of like a good potential for a lead Pokemon, where you get a move in 5 and then 4, and you just have coverage pretty much for everything except the Gligar. So as long as you dodge Gligar, you should be in a good situation. Feraligatr is not as bad. Feraligatr, in fact, is another Pokemon that can beat both Annihilape and the Skarmory. As long as you have shields. Gallade is the fastest, okay? The fastest champion in the entire Great League. 4 moves, you throw Leaf Blade. 4 Psycho Cuts, and 4 Psycho Cuts is just pretty fast. It's literally 4 seconds to a move. Azumarill is, I have it as in between a good lead and a good safe swap, because it's literally both. Where you can safe swap Azu, you can just lead Azu. At high MMR, people don't use Azu as much because it's just too slow for them. At lower MMR, I found out that Azu is one of the strongest Pokemon they could ever use, because people tend to use slow teams at lower MMR. Safe swaps. I think this list has been pretty much the same since 70 seasons ago, with it's Sableye and Lickitung, with the exception that Shadow Sableye is now better than non-Shadow. Okay. If you want me to make an updated guide on which IV you should be investing on the Sableye, leave a comment section below, so I know how many people are interested. If there are enough people interested in a deep dive video into Shadow Sableye, I will be making one. Mandibuzz surprisingly made a comeback to the meta last season for multiple reasons. Okay, why? It beats Feraligatr. It beats Gligar. It beats Annihilape. Did I say Annihilape about Feraligatr? Well, it beats Skarm, Feraligatr, Gligar, Feraligator, Annihilate, and Lickitung and Sableye Charjabug matchup isn't bad. You destroy Cresselia, and people were using Cresselia a lot last season. You are good into Whiscash. So that makes Mandibuzz one of the best safe swaps in the meta. Similar go to Clodsire. The problem with Clodsire is that Scald was just too OP, and because Scald is too OP, you just can't run any water Pokemon. The only exception with any ground Pokemon. The only exception with water is that if the ground if they have a water subtyping, which make it like playable. As an example, that's the reason why Quag, normal one, and Whiscash were just better. Poliwrath, I think with the nerf to Lantern, that's going to make Poliwrath even better. Okay, now Poliwrath only care about Annihilate. It's the only bad matchup technically. As a matchup is playable because you just spam Scald or Icy Wind, then you eventually can swap out and catch their move. Dugong, I would say that by far Dugong is the Pokemon that get buffed the most, okay? What do you mean by buffed the most? Well, it didn't get a buff, but Lantern got nerfed, okay? Whiscash got nerfed. So technically, if you want to stop Skarm now, Dugong destroys the Skarm in the one shield, and you win the two. And you win every neutral matchup, even bad matchups. If you have energy lead, you're able to flip them. So if I have to say the best Pokemon here is Annihilate, Skarmory. The best Pokemon here is Dugong, followed by Mandibuzz, I think. Now, the closers are Pokemon that tend to do good in the Digital Shield scenario, and that's just due to their bulkiness. With the exception that Shadow Quag is decent closer now, just because Whiscash got nerfed, which means Clodsire is now the MVP of the Mud Boys. Carbink still tough to use, to be honest. Because people just always assume if you want to use Carbink, you're just using a bad Basti. So you just use Basti. So the only two Pokemons that I think extremely solid here are Whiscash and Quagsire. Basti comes after. I think this season, Basti is going to be this season is going to be the best season for Basti because the waters just got nerfed, okay? And Basti was already a thing in the meta that's dominated by water. The top category here, the Pokemons on the top are like Pokemons that aren't good enough to be meta, but they still do lots of work. Serperior can beat anything that is not a hard Serperior still wins all the neutral matchups. Whiscash, okay, let me say this. If you use Shadow Whiscash, it's better than non-Shadow in the current meta, okay? Let's say that the Shadow Whiscash is still as decent because Shadow Whiscash doesn't rely on Scald. You just spam Mud Bomb. Vigoroth is just not as good as Annihilate and Poliwrath, so it comes third after them. Lantern Water Gun has a decent play, but it's just too slow, to be honest, so I wouldn't use it. Swampert is just like the third or the fourth best Mud Boy, so there is always better options. And the anti-meta, I would recommend the Trev. Trev is actually decent. Goodra, where is Goodra? Okay, I don't have Goodra for some reason. I forget about that. And the second best anti-meta is actually Talonflame. Why Talonflame? Talonflame is the only... it's not the only. It's one of very few lists that could beat a Skarmory, Annihilate, Gligar, Vigoroth. Dugong matchup isn't bad. You beat the fighters. You pretty much can beat anything in a neutral matchup because of the fact that you can boost. So don't sleep on Talonflame. Talonflame is extremely decent this season. Shadow A9 is also good. Now, we talked about the Pokemons. Let's just talk about the meta. Like, how does the meta look like, okay? But before we head to the meta, let's talk about the top performance. What are the top performers? Top performers, like, you know, like the top PvPoke list, which is this list, is the Pokemons that just do well against the entire meta, which is 500-600 Pokemons. The top performance is like the Pokemons that do well against the condensed meta. What's the condensed meta? Is like the Pokemons that people use. Because in every league, people use 10 to 20 Pokemons at max. I mean, I think I'm exaggerating by saying 20. You could say 5 to 10, to be honest. And that's where like Dugong comes in handy. Dugong seems to be the best Pokemon against any team that people could ever build. Same goes to Mandibuzz, because every team should have double weakness to Mandibuzz. Charjabug is just going to be the new Lantern. Lantern with Water Gun isn't bad. Shadow Gligar is still insanely good. Okay, so if you haven't invested in Shadow Gligar, make sure to. Shadow Poliwrath is just going to be everywhere. Now, we talked about the top performance. What is the top 3 PvPoke team? Top 3 PvPoke team is not is not something that is good. It's just something that we always talk about in the on this channel. So top 3 PvPoke team is we look at the PvPoke. Number 1, Registeel. Number 2, Annihilate. Number 3 is Cresselia. This team is on paper is supposed to be the best team, but it doesn't do the best because it's just too slow for the meta. You have too slow Pokemons. So if you want this team to work, you're just going to replace this with something that beats Sableye, as an example, way more comfortably. So you could do like a Wiggles, you know, like Wiggles. The top performing team, and the first team I have here is like the Snots team. Snots is a Great League player. He hit someone who hit number 1 in the Great League, and this was his team, as I think. It's a Skarmory with Greedent, and I think Whiscash, but now Whiscash got a nerf, so Quagsire is just better, okay? So if you want to use Whiscash, it must be Shadow. If you want to use Quag, it's better to be a Shadow one, okay? Another solid team, which I use for coaching. If I use this team to coach like a few students that I do have. I do have coaching. If you are interested in getting coached, there is... make sure to join the Discord and just send me a message. There is also like my link into Metify in the description below. So if you are interested, you know, this is a new season, so you can work toward getting a new milestone. Shadow N9 is just extremely good because you beat Lantern in the 2 and you beat Whiscash in the 2, you beat Gligar in the 2. It's just a good 2 shield Pokemon. You just double shield, win the lead engine, hope to RPS from there. And pretty much you will always 2 shield. They always use 1 shield, and whatever they bring in must use the second shield. Lickitung as again the best safe swap. Charjabug is the new Lantern. So if you don't want to use Lantern because it's a slow, Charjabug is technically a faster Pokemon. Now moving into the business, the dragons, because if you guys watch this channel, you would know how much I love using dragons. So there was a team popularized by Hamad Munir. He's a Great League player. He's a great player, and his team in Great League used to be Shadow Dragonite with Licky Reggie. So, with Lantern Reggie. So, with Lantern being nerfed, Charjabug is just slightly better. But now, you could still use Lantern with Water Gun, okay? And if you don't want to use a Dragonite because it's just too frail, you can use Goodra, which is actually much bulkier. Another Goodra team, this team I think I played last season. Skarmory with Shadow Dragonair and Whiscash, but now you have to use Quagsire, and if you don't have a Shadow Dragonair, okay, with a good IV, you could literally just use Goodra with the Community Day move. So once we have the Community Day move, you could use Goodra. Now, as we talked about Trevenant, any Trevenant team you would think of, well, this is the team I was thinking of with using Trevenant. Trevenant with a Dragonair or Goodra. I prefer Goodra more, to be honest, and this Skarmory in the back. The problem with this team is that your ABA weak to Wiggles, so if they have Wigglytuff in the lead, it's just tough to win because Wiggles will always have a Skarm answer. So you could just do this, to be honest, and just play the lead. If they have Lantern, you just go Dragonair. If they have Charjabug, you'll still go Dragonair. So yeah, I think this is actually a much better version of the team. And if they have Annihilate in the lead, you just, play the 1 shield and then Trevenant can farm him down. Any other teams we have? Well, I mean, you guys know that how much I love Dragonair, and I used the team, and the team I used to hit Veteran last season. I hit it like pretty early, to be honest, in the season. So I used Lantern, Dragonair, and Gligar. So now with the Lantern nerf, you just replace it with the Charjabug. And if you're looking to, I don't know, watch this video, hitting a new season high with this solid meta team, and this is the thumbnail. What if someone want to use Empoleon? Well, Empoleon is actually tough to use because Empoleon teams are always going to be weak to Annihilate, and Annihilate is just the best Pokemon. So you could use Mantine, to be honest, with Empoleon, but the thing is you'll be just extremely weak to Electric. So you kind of need a Dragonair to cover that, and for the third, you could just use, I don't know, Mantine, Skarmory, even Charjabug isn't bad. The most toxic team, if you are into toxic teams, is still Dugong, Annihilate, and Basti. A solid team, okay? A solid team I used last season and will still be using, which is Charjabug with Azu and Annihilate. The problem with this team is something called the Gligar. The Gligar is just tough to beat. So if you see lots of Gligars, just replace Annihilate with Feraligatr, okay? Let me just do it for you. What is the Feraligatr? Give me a Feraligatr from here. So yeah, just use for Alligator, and then that should solve the weakness to Shadow Glider. Now let's move to some basic meta teams. These are like the teams I talked about, some high MMR teams. Now, how does that different from like lower MMR teams? Well, with lower MMR teams, people fight for lead. Whoever win lead, just like RPS from there. And a neutral team, if you are like into neutral teams, Dragonair, Lantern, Vigoroth. Lantern is dead. Use Chargeback. Sorry, I think I said that a lot today, but this is what we do. A Clodsire team, okay? I always like to put Clodsire in one of the teams because I feel like this Pokemon is just extremely underrated and people just don't respect it enough. Mantine, with Mantine, you need an Annihilate and you have Clodsire in the back. And this team is technically has 3 answers to the opposing Annihilate. And remember, again, if you don't have skills in this game, you can just run Triple Charm as long as 2 of the Charmers are Shadow. Trust me, this team works magic, okay? I will try actually to use it today on stream. So if you stop by the stream and you want to see the team I'm using, I will use this team actually for 2 sets. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much everyone for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoy these videos. And if you guys like these videos, please leave a like. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And see you in the next video. Peace.